Growth therapy. May the Lord be with you and also with you.
I didn't know y'all were so religious.
What? No, that's just the church. Like, I grew up like Catholic church, heavy in the church. I even sang like in choir. One bread, one body, one Lord of all.
I just know, and also with you.
And also with you. Peace be with you, and also with you.
And also with you, bud. Rock
oh,
on.
peace be with you. Then what did I say in church? Okay.
Are we good? Go
Are
back
we
to my
recording?
camera. How do I look?
Okay. I mean,
All right.
Congratulations on the new studio.
Let's get started.
We
get an extra 10 minutes.
Broco therapy. Oh my god. Wait, this is weird. I don't think we've ever done like just me and you.
I know. I'm excited about
Have we
this.
ever hung out just me and you? Oh,
Wait.
we did. We went to Home Goods.
Yeah.
Which is
Right?
so weird. We did once.
When did we do that?
That was definitely last year. We went to Home Goods and then we went to get sushi.
Okay.
But other than that, I think I've hung out with maybe Nicole more solo than I have with you.
Yeah. Well,
Because of like editing and stuff.
Yeah.
Oh, well, thank you for coming on the pod, you guys. Let's just do intro. I feel weird sometimes.
It's
when
fine.
It's like not my house.
I know.
Like,
sometimes I hate doing the intro on my show because I always fuck it up and I always say,
What's
welcome
up,
back to
Double
OT Fam. How are we
T-Fam?
doing today? And then I go, today, so I'm like,
yeah,
I have to put a
weird.
pause between the two todays.
Yeah. Anyways, hi guys. It is me, Stefanie Maegan, your host of Broco Therapy. And we only have one half of Cami and Niki. We just got the Cami.
The better half.
The better half.
No, don't. Just kidding.
No. We love Niki.
I kid you. I kid. Nikki, you're the better half. I'm just kidding.
No, you guys are like, you are your own individuals. And we love you for you. And we love Niki for Niki.
Exactly.
And okay, so the one thing I was thinking about so background story, this day has been a bit of a rush because I was supposed to record with somebody else, but then they decided to reschedule. And I was just like, well, I don't think I could just like cancel because I literally have like a couple hours till I have to record.
Yeah, I think they have a 24-hour policy.
Yeah. And
they really only love us, so we're the only people. I'm just kidding.
And I just feel bad like canceling. Like canceling
No,
sucks, especially when you've already paid them. So like
no, exactly.
it just sucks. So thank you for being here because I hit up Cami and Niki and it was like, can I have the both of you on or one of you guys? And then Cami came through. Boop, 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 boop.
Woo!
And I was thinking, like, what the fuck are we going to talk about?
I mean, there's a lot of things we can talk about.
I know, exactly. And so I was like, you know what? This is an opportunity to have just you here. Like, I'm going to take advantage of it because I love Nicole. Don't get me wrong. I love Nicole so much. And she is definitely a friend and a sister that is like needed, right? Because she like tells you how it is. She's honest. Like she like loves hard. So she like has your back. But I know because you're so vulnerable.
Yeah.
That I'm like, let's have this moment without Niki to really like create the space for you to be as vulnerable as possible.
Yeah.
And one of the things that I feel like is always brought up, but we never talk about is your roommate situation.
Neighbor situation.
Yeah. Sorry. Your roommate is your sister.
Actually, I really love that we're going to talk about this because it has been just such a journey for me. And I feel like the universe is finally like, okay, she's getting it. And yeah, you're right. Like Niki, she's the person, she won't catch you slipping. Like she's going to make sure
she's going to hold you accountable.
Yeah, she's going to hold you accountable, which I love that. I love that. Her tough love, though, sometimes is a little too much for me. And I have to, and I really have to like communicate that to her or she'll steamroll right through me. And
we've seen it on the show.
No, I know. But like when I really think about it, that's how I am in my relationships. If I don't she holds me accountable. I've never held myself accountable.
Oh, really?
And one of the main things that I'm learning right now is that like when it comes to my boundaries, taking care of myself and holding myself accountable in relationships, I will let my partner just steamroll right through me.
Oh, so like kind of a pushover a bit?
Yeah. And so, I mean, guys, if you've been listening to our episodes with Steph, if you've listened to my show, you know that I was in a really toxic situationship for 2 years with Mike.
Yeah.
I've talked about that before. That breakup was super hard for me. And then I got into the poly relationship with Cody. And then I was single. And I was single for about, I cut it off with Cody around July. So August, September, October, November. By December, I started the situationship with my neighbor. And the things that I've had to come to realize through, because December, now we're in May. It's been 5 fucking months.
Yeah, no, it's crazy.
Yeah. The things I've come to realize have been just absolutely nuts. And I just want to validate for anyone that is going through like a really toxic situationship or relationship, if maybe someone like really has a chokehold on you, there is another side to it. If you push past that initial pain, there is happiness on the other side. Now, I don't want to sit here and be like, because neighbor and I just had like our last little hoorah last week.
Well, what's the last hoorah? What do you mean?
The last repetition of the cycle.
So you you fucked?
Yeah, I'll get into it. I'll get into it. So we just had our last little hoorah like about a week ago, but it's been kind of like going more in the direction of ending the last few times anyways that we repeated the cycle. Then now I'm finally like, okay, this has got to stop. I cannot for the life of me afford to put my nervous system through this mess one more time. So let's get into it because there's so much to discuss.
I was going to say, yeah, how do we get here? And how do we, and I mean this in the best way, how do we trust that it is the last time?
No, exactly. And that I think that's the hard part for Nikki is because now I feel like I'm telling her, like, I am done. And she's like, are you actually?
I know, because every time I'd be like, oh, how's Cami and the neighbor? She's like, ugh.
No, I know.
Her reaction every single time.
And that's the thing is like, I know this is frustrating for her, but I've told her many, many times, I'm like, look, this is my journey. This is my life. And these are the decisions that I'm making. I know it's hard for you to watch, but you're just going to have to trust that I'm going to figure it out on my own.
Yeah.
Because I will. Neighbor and I started in December. First 2 weeks, we were like all over each other, spending the night all the time, hanging out every day. And of course,
and I remember you talked about it on an episode. I think we took it down though. But it was like in early January or early December. You talked about it. You edit things at 3 weeks.
Well, so what happened was about 2 or 3 weeks in.
Yeah.
And this was, we'd been all over each other, blah, 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 whatever. About 2 to 3 weeks in, I went to a show. And I had made plans with him prior to going to the show. Mm-hmm. I was like, hey, I'm going to be at the show. How about after you come pick me up? We go out because I think the show ended at like 11, super early.
Yeah.
He was like, yeah. Yeah.
The night is young.
Early for me. Yeah. Depending on the night that you ask. Because some nights 10 is late. It just depends.
Yeah, it just depends.
So he was like, yeah, I'll come pick you up. Let's go out. He was like, I have a Christmas party, but I'm down to hang out after. I was like, okay, dope. So we're like texting throughout the concert. It's getting to be like 10 o'clock-ish. I'm like, hey, like, let me know when you're on your way, blah, blah, blah. And he started like not texting for a little bit. And then I was like, hey, like, show's ended. You coming? Like, what's the deal? Like, if we need to change plans, like, let me know, whatever. I can't remember exactly what I said. And he was like, sorry, I'm still at this thing. And he had gone like, I think 30 minutes without replying. And I was just like, okay. Typically he responds faster than that. At least he did then. And then I was like, okay, like, at that point I'm not going to lie. I was doing some extracurriculars at that show. I was fucking baked.
Right.
And I told him, I was like, I'm going to be home in a little bit. Like, I'm still like, hi, I'm going to, try to find something to do. And then I'll be home. Like, let's hang out. And all he said was like, maybe. And so he was just
That's annoying.
Yeah. He was just kind of like being like a little standoffish and like not really responsive at that point. And I was like, what in the world is going on? So then, so then we're out. Nikki meets this one guy. The one guy has a friend. I'm talking, chit-chatting with a friend, whatever. He's cool. And we like end up hanging out with them for like several hours. And then finally I was like, I'm going to go home. Like, let's go home. And Nicole, and we brought the guys home with us.
Yeah.
You know, Nikki was in love with that guy. I wasn't like totally like.
Was that the night she met him?
Yeah.
Oh my God.
I wasn't totally into the other guy, but I was just like, you know.
Like something to do.
Friend, you know, like, well, you know, she wanted the other guy to come with, whatever.
So wing woman it.
I was like, yeah, kind of. So we bring the guys home and, you know, mind you, like, neighbor and I had not had a conversation as to what we were doing at that point. Before he and I, literally days before he and I got together, he was having girls over, you know? But then he and I had our night out. We fucked. We were hanging out. I didn't really see any of the other girls over. And I wasn't really like talking to any other guys. But it's not like we had the talk of like, what are we doing?
Right.
Are we exclusive? Are we seeing other people? So we bring those guys home. Neighbor sees that. And
that's crazy that like you're so close really as neighbors that you like see who walks in.
Yeah. And I, like, mind you, I was
like, he was keeping a lookout, I feel.
Yeah. And I was on drugs. I was kind of pissed that, like, he hadn't really, like, responded to me. And he was kind of being, like, you know, not being very responsive about, like, making plans for when I get home. And I'm not saying that I brought that guy home to be spiteful. I did not. I think I was just, like, at that point, I was just kind of, like, doing my own thing. And you know me. Like, I grew up in the world of non-monogamy, you know, and when I don't expect exclusivity from someone if we haven't discussed what we're doing.
I mean, I feel like that is like just all around.
Yeah. But the hard part is we're neighbors. So he had to see that. And the minute he saw that guy come over, he brought a girl over that night.
Shady.
Yeah.
Spiteful.
And then he and I were like text fighting the morning after all night or all morning. I go over there. I'm like knocking on his door. I'm like crying. I'm like having a full blown like panic attack about like losing him.
Yeah.
And, you know, and that's when the cycle started.
And how did he react when you're literally crying and begging for his forgiveness? Like, how did he like?
Oh, he was so pissed. He was so pissed that I brought that guy over. But then I was pissed that he immediately, like within an hour at fucking 2 a.m., brought a girl over. And I'm like, what the fuck? So you just had this on your Rolodex the whole time, just waiting for that text?
I mean, yeah.
Like, what in the actual fuck? And then that just opened the doors to just about the most toxic cycle I've ever been in.
Do you think this is more toxic than you and Mike?
Oh, absolutely. Because I'll tell you one thing, where Mike and I were very toxic, but he respected me.
Yeah.
He respected me. He never did anything out of spite. He, you know, okay, I'll take that back. He might have, but it wasn't so like instant. Like, I know there were times that I lied to Mike and that, you know, I cheated on him. And there were times that he lied to me and he cheated on me, but it wasn't like tit for tat, you know?
Right. It's just like, it just happened and
it was more, like the times apart were really, but like he and I, you know, we would have a lot more discussions around it. And he, you know, he was a little bit older. So I feel like, you know, he didn't lead with his ego as much as Neighbor did. Neighbor's 24. And I get it. Like I was 20. I think what drew me into Neighbor originally was just the fact that I saw his wounds. I saw his wounds.
See, once you like start being vulnerable, and you see like when you see why people are the way they are, like their traumas, it like makes you, and especially as an empath, it like makes you even more attached because
it makes me want to fix him.
Exactly, it makes you want to fix him, and it also makes you just be like, well, it's because his mom and da 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 da.
Oh, then you make excuses.
You make excuses, and it's just like, ugh, it's so scary.
And that's the thing is like I see who he is at 24, and I see exactly who I was at 24 in him.
Yeah.
Someone who had has been hurt before in a way that they're not really, it makes them question like how to move forward. Um and then I can just see in the way that he like goes about some situations that it really he has a really great job. He
I remember you
is
telling me about beef.
killing it for 24, but
Yeah.
like I can tell that it takes a lot for him to find joy in life. And that's how I was. That's how I was before I found Daniel. Is I was just
And Daniel
I had
is, just for those who don't know, your
yeah,
ex-fiance.
yeah, Daniel's my ex-fiance that I met at 24. Um and I see that in him, and it just it makes me want to fix him, and it makes me want to make him happy, because like I'm one of those people that I will absolutely self-sacrifice when I see someone that I like, I'm starting to like, and I want them to be happy the way you know, like I want to be the reason.
Do you feel that younger 24-year-old version of you is healed? Or do you think that he is a projection of those like unhealed wounds that you have?
I think it definitely, I mean, it's brought up a lot of old wounds. But it's also ones that I've been actively trying to heal since my ex-fiance and I ended things. So
Yeah.
since Mike, since Cody, like
Because
I've
you've been back to back since you broke up with your ex-fiance.
yeah.
You just mentioned a little earlier that you felt the way that he felt until you met your ex-fiance. And do you think
Yeah.
your ex-fiance was like maybe a distraction at that time? Like, do you think that he helped heal you? Like, what did you mean by that statement? Or did you heal before you got him? Like, what was that
No, I was just
timeline?
more so saying like, 20, like between 20 and 24 for me was a really rough time.
Yeah.
And it got better for me when I met my ex-fiance,
Okay.
because he was someone that he chose our relationship, and I chose him. So we chose each other. And for me, like that, having that love, brought me a lot of healing, or at least started the process.
Yeah.
But then I didn't actually like truly start the process until like after our
I know that love can heal in a lot of ways, but it's also like it's still a lot of self-work,
yeah.
So,
It's just so weird because, I'm more triggered now. I feel like when I met my ex-fiance at 24, like I was a lot more like naive, and like everything was a little bit more
yeah.
fresh because like I hadn't been truly hurt. Well, I mean, I had in like some ways, but not like in other like relational levels. But neighbor triggered me a ton. Mike triggered me a ton. Even my relationship with Cody a little bit triggered me in other ways. Which all this is a whole journey. I'll get more to, on
Yeah.
get on that later.
I was just curious.
Yeah. But basically, so after that night, like I was banging on his door, we had a little bit of a discussion, went horribly wrong. And then like a few days later, he and I made up.
Cycle begins.
Yeah. But then like I had to go on a trip, and I remember like I came back I came back as he was leaving, and I saw a girl in his car whenever he was leaving, and he had lied to me about who she was. He was like, no, she's taking me to the airport. And I'm like, well, why was she over in the morning to take you to the airport without a car? So she's keeping your car, the whole logistics thing. I know he was lying to me. He told me later he was. I didn't find out until way later that he was lying to me. But that started the cycle where we would fight, we'd make up, we'd be together for a few days, and then it would start over. And a lot of that had to do with like, okay, now all of a sudden we couldn't trust each other. He thought I was talking to other guys. I thought he was with other girls. He went out of town. I went out of town. Like it was just very like, it was just really toxic. And I feel like he's a really insecure guy. I'm not gonna lie about that. He's very handsome, I think. But he's young, and I think he's still trying to find his sense of self-worth and his confidence. And I was always mirroring back his insecurity. And that's like And paired with I got hella attached, me mirroring his insecurities, and then just we couldn't trust each other. Like it got so bad. My anxiety, I've never felt my anxiety get that bad before. This was the first time I actually considered. Now, I understand everybody's different on like how they view like antidepressants, anti-anxiety medications. I've always tried to steer clear of those just because like growing up, like I always had a lot of health issues and I was always on a lot of different medications. So, but this was not related to anxiety. When I found my anxiety in like college and, you know, my depression, I still just like did not seek any like help from, I didn't even go to therapy. And then I thought like I got my own hold on it. And I did. And I feel like I've gotten a lot better at like self-regulating, you know, et cetera, et cetera. But with him, like just the fact that he lives right there. Every single time we fight, I always have to see the, you know, the byproduct of that. And like he started doing spiteful things. Like even we would have a great night and the next night he would bring a girl over without telling me.
Have you thought of like moving?
Girl.
Yeah.
I've been trying to tell
I know.
Nicole
I
that.
love your apartment.
I love my apartment.
Yeah, I love your apartment.
I love it so fucking much.
But you know what? I think there's actually, because remember what I was working on set with somebody and like we were in this building that was identical to your guys's. And we were in one of the apartment buildings shooting something. And it looked like your apartment, but it wasn't. Because remember, I don't know if you remember, but I like texted you, Nikki, and I was like, wait, what's your guys' address? Because I was trying to make sure. I was like, am I in the same vicinity? But it wasn't. So what I'm saying is there's other apartments that look like yours.
No, I know. But
in the area.
I know, and we'll see.
But, you know, I'm just saying. But I know it's easier said than done because there's a lease and
the deposit. Nicole doesn't want to lose the deposit because it was kind of expensive.
No, that I can imagine.
Yeah, and she's like, I'm not losing this deposit. We're at least staying until the lease is up.
Okay, so you guys have like even brought it up.
Yeah. Well, we've talked about it several times.
So
I even tried to
move.
I even tried to buy her out of the deposit. I was like, I'll pay you the deposit amount. She's like, no, I'm not losing that money. We're not wasting that money. She was like, suck it up and deal with it and get over it because we're staying. And I was like, you know what? You're right.
It's a nice apartment.
It is. Yeah. I love where we live. And I think the thing that hurt the most is seeing him do things out of spite to me. And yeah, there were times that I did go on a date or I had brought a guy over once. He wasn't home, but his roommate was. So his roommate told him. Which is
fucking bitch.
I know. I was like, what the fuck?
Keep your mouth shut, roommate.
And
fucking asshole. Because it's like if you're not dealing with him, you're dealing with a fucking roommate. Sorry.
But that's the thing.
But then again,
like,
Nikki would have done the same thing for you.
And that's the thing is like, but I think about it and I'm like, that's not me. I'm not a liar. I don't do things out of spite. But the fact that like I was so heavily triggered by him, like we'd get in fights. I would blow his phone like the fuck up. I would call him 40 times. I would send him all these texts.
I think he likes it. Is that
and
weird?
I was like, and that's the thing is like, I felt like, you know, it was like a rush of emotions, adrenaline, dopamine, whatever the fuck, dopamine whenever he texted back. Like, like all of these bodily things. I remember I had one of my psychic. I was doing a reading with her. I think it was like in like January or something. And then mind you, also my ex-fiance died in January.
Right.
So as I'm going through all these things with my neighbor, my ex-fiance dies. And I remember I had a session with my psychic and she was like, girl, I don't know what the fuck you're doing, but your nervous system is shot. She's like, because she was feeling it through like her clairs. She was like, you need to rest. You need to take care of your body. And even my other friend, Kate, who's also a psychic, I remember one time we were just like doing a tarot pull and she was like feeling intuitively and she was like, what the fuck is up with your nervous system? She was like, you need to like chill out.
But even as like a friend of yours, like I could feel the difference too.
Yeah.
You know, and I understand that it's like, I would never shame you for that because it's like I know you're going through something.
Yeah. No, your energy
is different from when you know, the first year we were even friends. Before you met him, I guess you could say.
Yeah. No, and that's the thing is like I was thinking back and like I was really happy being single before I met him, and then I latched onto him so quickly, and at one point I was like, how did I get here? Like, why didn't I stop myself from getting so attached? Like, why didn't I look at this and be like, hey, slow the fuck down for a moment. You need to actually go in this with a logical mindset because he is your neighbor. No, I breezed right through my boundaries for him.
Yeah.
And
what was it about him that like made you just so
and
like
and that's the thing is like, you know, he was coming inside me all the time, which women, please do not fucking chemically bond to a guy that you're trying to get to know. Wait for that shit.
You're on birth control, right?
No. I love cream pies and I'm not on birth control. I have not had a pregnancy scare, thank God. But
still,
I was just letting him come inside me all the time. Yeah.
Girl.
And that will get you chemically.
Even I mean, my sex in general already does, but especially now when it's just like he's literally inside of you.
My therapist was like, I had my last session with her. She was like, the moment you have sex with someone, she's like, all those hormones and like, you know, whatever, you know, hormonal hits you get, dopamine, whatever, from that one session will stay with you through your next period cycle. She was like, I was like, well, you know, I've had sex with him. He came inside me. You know, blah, blah, blah. She was like, when's your next period? I was like, 2 weeks. She's like, don't fucking touch him for 2 weeks. And I was like, yeah. And I was like, you're right. But that's the thing is, you know,
and
like
what happened when did you not touch him for 2 weeks?
Oh, we're still in those 2 weeks.
Oh, okay.
I haven't. It's been well over a week since the last time that he and I had sex. But that's the thing is like I look back and I'm like, okay, I liked certain things about him. I thought he was very handsome. He can be very sweet. He's been very sweet to me at moments, but that's the thing is that, you know, on the flip side of that, he can also be extremely mean. And
how does he fight? Like what kind of fighter is he?
He talks down on me.
Oh fuck.
And he's called me some very bad names that I don't like.
Yeah.
And he's treated me horribly. But you know, and that's the thing is like every single time he came back and apologized, I always fell for his words. And I will tell you one thing, guys, pretty words are just that. Pretty words. The action behind it needs to match that.
How's his relationship with his parents?
I think good. For the most part. He went to see his parents not that long ago, like 2 months ago. And
how did his dad treat his mom?
But and then that's the thing is
like what are examples of like where he's getting these behaviors from something? So
I know. I'm like something happened because like and I know he had a girlfriend in his very early 20s that cheated on him with his best friend or something.
That's very hurtful.
That's
a lot of
that's a very hurtful
not to make
thing.
Excuses for him because
no, but I know that's a very hurtful thing to go through, and I definitely feel for him because I've been cheated on, you know, and in turn, like one thing that I realized, especially like through my relationship with Mike, is, you know, my ex-fiance cheated on me and lied to me. I did not properly heal from that. And then in my next relationship, my relationship with Mike, I cheated and I lied. And I was like, what the fuck? That's not who I am. And I've been actively trying to heal that. And then with Neighbor, I realized that his reactions were so bad that a lot of the times I felt, and I even told him this, I'm like, because of your reactions, I've had to lie to you or, you know, hide the truth in some way, shape, or form because I fear your reaction. Because
I've been in a relationship like that.
Exactly. And then it's like, how are we ever going to like communicate and actually get somewhere good if we don't feel empowered to say our thoughts without there being a really negative reaction? I don't want to be called a whore. I don't want to be judged for my podcast. I don't want, you know, someone that thinks
he sounds like a misogynistic like prick.
I don't want to say that.
I'm going to say that because first off, you are a beautiful woman who's very in tune with your sexuality. You're very open about it. You help others feel comfortable in their sexuality. He can't stand that. He's like so old fashioned and as far as how he views women that he looks at that as a slut.
Yeah.
When it's like, but you could be a motherfucker too and like call women like, you know, on fucking speed dial.
Well, that's the thing is like,
And
he
you know
was
what I
like,
mean? Like, I don't like that.
I remember one time he was like, yeah, I fuck around,
He
but I
has
don't.
no respect for women. Therefore, he like, I don't think he could ever have respect.
I don't think he had respect for me, like at
Yeah.
all. And that's the thing is,
But I don't think because he doesn't respect women. It's not just you. It's like it's maybe he's just battling with
And
some sort of
maybe-
Madonna whore complex.
well, and maybe that's because of his ex cheating on him. Maybe then he now has this deep wound of like he can't
That's
respect.
for sure a huge impact.
And I hope that he heals from that. And that's the thing is like he was like one time he was like, at least I don't talk about it on the internet. Like I could never introduce you to my parents or take you seriously because
See,
of
that pisses me off too because I
told him one time, I was like, look, the countless times people have said, thank you for your podcast. Thank you for making me feel normal. Thank you for this. Thank you for that. I will never regret having my podcast and my platform, not for anybody.
for sure.
You know, I will never regret it. Sure, there have been times like even with Mike couldn't handle the podcast at times because he, you know, sexual liberated woman, you know, he didn't, it kind of fucked with his ego a little bit.
And especially a woman who is beautiful and like you're very much desired by a lot of people, you know?
I appreciate that.
And so because obviously I have the same platform as well too. And I remember before meeting, you know, my boyfriend, like my mom would say stuff, or even just guys I would date, just be like, you're not going to find your person because, you know, no man is going to respect you for what you do.
And that's not fucking true.
And it's not true. And I know that now because obviously this is what actually attracted my boyfriend to, you know what I mean?
Well, and that's the thing. The right guy with confidence won't look at that as a fucking threat.
No.
I was on the phone with one of my guy friends. What was it? The other night, whatever. And he and I were chatting. And he was like watching a lot of my videos, and he was just about to send me a text, and I had called him and he was like, whoa, that's crazy. Like I was just about to text you. I was like doing a deep dive of your podcast. He was like, I love it, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, that's so funny. Cause like, and I was referring to Neighbor. I was like, some guys get really like, you know, insecure about the podcast, whatever. Or like they look down on it. He was like, what? No, that's just their insecurity. He was like, what you're doing is great. Like it's fucking cool. Don't listen to them.
He needs like, or he wants like a woman that is pretty much just like timid and probably someone he could like boss around and like.
I think he's 24. I think right
that.
now he just wants to fuck around and have fun. You know, like the last few times that we repeated the cycle, one of them, this was probably the worst way that he had ever hurt me. And I'm going to go ahead and tell y'all the story is so fucking embarrassing and I hated that I went through this. But I had stayed home and it was like a Friday night and we're going to hang out. And he was like, yeah, I'm going to dinner with my bosses, but when I get back, let's hang out. I was like, yeah, sure. Like I was just going to have a night in on my own, hang out, watch TV. And so I'm at home. And we're texting and he's like updating me a little bit, but he's kind of like, I was like, oh, like, where are you having dinner? And he's like, some Italian place. Like he wasn't, usually he like give me specifics, but he was kind of being like a little shady. I was like, okay. And then it got to be like, he had left around 6. It got to be like around 11. And I was like, are you coming back? Like, what are y'all doing? He's like, yeah, I'm with some actors and my bosses because he's in production, whatever. Finally, I was like, when are you coming back? And he was like, I'll be home in an hour. Go to sleep. And I was like, no, I'll stay up. I'll wait for you. 30 minutes later, I get a text. He's like, I'm bringing a girl home. Go to bed. And I was like, and that's his favorite thing to tell me is go to sleep. Whenever he said that to me one time, like many months ago, he brought a girl over. And I was like, what is this? And he was like, because we had just hung out the night before.
Right.
He had gotten back from a trip. We hung out. Next night, he, without even telling me, just brought a girl over. And this was a time that he and I were like on the mend, whatever. You know, we were trying to be like more exclusive with each other. And he was like,
fucking audacity.
yeah. And he was just like, go to bed. And I was like, what the fuck?
Don't fucking tell me what to do, motherfucker. Sorry. I don't need to be
so
aggressive.
that last
but
night.
like that makes me so upset.
No, and that night when he was like, I'm bringing a girl home, go to bed, I flipped my shit. I was pissed. I called him like 40 times. Finally, he answered and he was like, liars get lied to. I'm like, you're a fucking liar too, dude.
Wait, so
look
he didn't
at what
bring
you
it,
just
lied?
did. Didn't you just lie to me? Like, and it was, and I mean, that wasn't the first time he's lied to me. And this is what I'm telling you.
So he lied about bringing a girl home?
He led me on. He
lied. Okay. And then,
yeah. No, he led me on. And then, very last minute, I went and stayed at my friend's house.
What a sick like this man is sick.
I cannot tell you and here's the thing. I've had such bad anxiety. I got a fucking cyst because of it.
Yeah.
And that cyst went away. And he and I had been off. And then we got back on, cyst came back.
Girl, sometimes your body
No, exactly. My
reacts.
body was rejecting him so hard. Nicole was like, oh, you got the cyst back? Just when you get, back with neighbor? How funny. And I was like,
Yeah.
Anyways, so I leave for a week. He texts me a little bit. We make up. And, then I go on a trip. And he like went out to dinner with the girl, and I knew he did. And then, because I find out, women always find out, just letting you know.
Yeah, we just know. We just know things.
And then he came back. We made up again.
Girl.
Exhausting.
Yeah.
Absolutely exhausting.
Okay, we're not.
No. Yeah.
We've all.
Yeah. Oh, we've all been. Whatever.
Yeah.
Anyways, and then.
What does he do? Like, especially after something like that.
I know everybody's listening that, wondering like, Cami, what the fuck were you doing? But trust me, I've had the same thoughts. Like, what was I doing giving my time to someone that has zero respect for me, doesn't value my, like, who I am? And, and he was always like, I thought you'd change for me, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, well, are you going to fucking change for me? Because the way that you treat me is shit.
Yeah. So what does he say to you though, like, especially after doing something like that? Like, what is he saying to you to get you, to convince you to come back?
Well, that night
how does he talk? What is his like game?
Yeah, that night that he had brought that girl and surprised me with that, he was like, a few days later, he was like, look, you didn't deserve that. I'm so sorry. I was drunk. I know that doesn't excuse it. I wanted to tell you, because I mean, it's not like we were exclusive, but we had a discussion, because we had a discussion about our own triggers with each other. And I had told him, you have free will. You want to sleep around with someone? That is totally fine. Just please tell me.
Oh, so you told him that?
Yeah, exactly. I was like, I don't want any more surprises. I cannot handle them. My body can't handle them. No more surprises.
But then I thought you guys wanted to like.
Oh, and then he couldn't even uphold that. And then
you're like, I'll allow you to do it. Just
I
be
was like,
honest.
I don't fucking care. Just be honest with me, so at least I know.
Right.
And then that's the thing. So the last final,
even do that.
Yeah, the last final time we were, trying to fix things, and we were trying to have a discussion, because we were like, okay, like, how are we going to move on, or how are we going to move forward, in a way that makes sense for us, because we are neighbors, we care about each other, we love each other, I guess.
You say I love you?
Yeah. And we started saying I love you in like January. And like we want this to be healthy. And he was like, we were just like talking about like, okay, like what can we do? And he basically insinuated, he was like, because I said, okay, bring a girl over if you want, just at least let me know so that I'm aware. And this was the fucking 5th time that I had told him, and he was like, I'm gonna get jealous if you bring someone over. I was like, okay. And he was like, and it's not going to make me want to like hook up with you at all or like, have sex or anything. And I'm like, so you basically want your cake and eat it too. And you just want me to sit here like a good little present just for you to open and, be
He's
at your
sick. beck
and call.
He's
and
sick.
I was like,
I think this is like beyond just being like young and like not like no, he's like a legit asshole. And I hope he's listening to this.
Well, that's the thing is like he was telling me all these things in my mind and I'm like, how the fuck is this going to work? The minute I bring a guy over, but you best believe he's going to have a girl over every night to make sure that I feel some sort of pain.
He's like psychotic.
And I was like, I'm over here like actually trying to like move forward in a way that like works first. And then that's when I realized I was like, oh, and then so this is the very final thing. So we were like, cuddling, watching TV. One of my guy friends calls me and I don't answer, but he sees who it is. And he got mad. What?
Was it Eric?
No, it wasn't Eric. I love Eric. Which Eric has been like this whole time. I remember a few months ago.
I love Eric.
Yeah,
shout out to
we
Eric.
were just like talking. We were at a fam event or whatever, all hanging out, and I forgot what I said. But Eric was like, what about that neighbor situation, Camilla? Yeah, why don't you fix that first?
Oh, I love him because it's like he's
like Nicole.
Yeah.
He's not going to he's going to hold me accountable. He's just like
so sarcastic, but like actually funny.
Yeah, and he's not going to take my shit either.
He doesn't take shit.
No, exactly.
But then also like we'll do it because like he's so sweet at the same time.
He'll hold me, and that's the thing that I love about like, and that's the thing. So that very last night when, my guy friend called me, neighbor flipped out and he was like he went through my texts and he was like reading my conversations with my guy friends. And at that point, like Cody and I, who are friends, and I had told him about Cody and I's relationship as friends several times. Cody and I were kind of having a little tiff about our friendship at that point. And neighbor was like looking through our texts and he's like, that's not, text with an ex of someone that, like you don't talk to anymore, blah, blah. And I'm like, no, I told you we were friends. And like, and I was trying to explain to him like, hey, dude, like I have guy friends that I value, that I love, that I respect because they all give me all those things back. They value me. They respect me. They love me. It's platonic as fuck. I will never fuck any of them.
Yeah.
But goddamn if I'm not thankful for them for what they bring into my life. Because for me, it is just as important to have girlfriends as it is to have guy friends. All my friends hold me accountable. They, nurture me, and I'm forever grateful for those. So he was looking at my text with my guy friends, and he was like, he blew up. And then he goes, I'm going to have a girl over today because I know, like, and I was like, yeah, figured that you would do that because
it's like a thing.
Yeah.
So if you fuck up somehow or make him feel even just slightly jealous, he's just like, well, I'm gonna bring a girl over. What a sick motherfucker.
Because he knows how that triggers me. He knows how it triggers me.
No, Cami, like this is like beyond just like.
No, it's bad. Yeah,
I know, and I love you, and I don't mean to like get aggressive.
No, but that's a thing.
But that's just like he.
And after that, like and I just
sick.
And that was the last time I was like, I just knew. I was like, I can't do this anymore. And I remember I had done a Reiki session a few weeks back, and she was like, and neighbor kind of came up in the Reiki, and she was like, you'll know when it's energetically like done. She was like, and I texted her the other day, and I was like, I think it's that time. And that's the thing is like he said that to me, and I was like, yeah, I know. And that almost kind of like it like stopped him for a moment, and I was like, but I knew that he was going to bring someone over to hurt me because that's how he knows the number one way.
He's like revengeful and spiteful and like.
And it's and that's the thing is like, I wish him well.
Yeah.
But most of all, I wish him healing. And he had a girl over the next day, made sure that I saw it, and made it very apparent. And I was like, whatever, like and that's fine.
Sorry.
But I,
yeah,
I've kind of just doubled down. I put on this I started dating to Date Yourself Instead podcast. Love it. I've been listening to that. I've been journaling a lot. I went to therapy. I've stayed busy and I've thought a lot about it. I've been reflecting so much on the past 3 relationships that I've had: neighbor, Cody, Mike. And it's, and even talking about it in therapy. And funny thing, after the last night that neighbor and I got in a fight, the next night I see, mind you, I'd already been fighting with Cody about our friendship.
Mm-hmm.
I ran into Mike at the show that I was at. And he was like, we were both like, blasted in our own ways, having a fun time at the concert. And at one point, like, I remember I was like, Mike, I love you. I wish you the best. And he was like calling me awkward. He's like, why are our encounters so awkward, blah, blah, blah. And then at one point, it was like he was insinuating that like I wanted to get back together with him. And I was like, that's not what I was thinking. It's not what I meant when I say I love you. I mean, like, I love you as a person. But one of the things that I've been like really, really getting deep about, because neighbor and I said I love you very fast. Cody and I said I love you very fast. Mike and I said I love you very fast. Or at least I did with Mike. Mike took a while. And one of the things that like this has, and I had to basically tell Mike like, no, I don't want that with you.
Yeah.
I don't see a future where you and I get back together. And I remember when Cody and I were having our friendship kind of makeup conversation, he was like, because he's been doing his own healing in our, post breakup, whatever. And he was like, this might sound weird, but I just like I need you to say it. Like, there's no romantic possibility for us, right?
Oh, Cody was saying that?
Yeah. And it was just
maybe he was just like holding on to the possibility.
Well, it was just so weird because I had just had to tell Mike that same thing. And I even told Cody, I was like, this is fucking nuts, because I feel like I just had to tell Cody or Mike the same thing. And now you're asking me to tell you. And I knew that he needed to hear it for his healing. But the fact that I had to do it again with, someone that like I anxiously fell for very quickly, I was like, and then it just fucking hit me. I was like, and Cody was like, don't leave it open-ended. Tell me how you feel. Like, don't say, you never know what the future holds. Cause that's what I said. I was like, well, you never know what the future holds, but yeah, like romantic. He's like, no, just be honest with me right now. And we had a huge conversation about boundaries. And then that's when I realized, I was like, I've steamrolled over my boundaries so often with men. I've let men steamroll over my boundaries. I let a guy deeply hurt me and, disrespect my boundaries because I don't even know what they are. I couldn't even voice them. And the fact that I've had gone through these 3 situations, it's like now I realize, I was like, the universe has been telling me, Camilla, you need to have boundaries and you need to fucking actually like communicate them. And that's why I just had to tell 2 people that there's no romantic future between them and I.
Yeah.
And that's why I just had to let go of the situation with my neighbor. And all of this goes to show that, the same lesson will come back. If you don't learn it the first time, which with Mike, I was like, whenever he and I ended and, I was in therapy and I was with Cody for a while there, I was like, yeah, wow, like I've done the work, like I've healed it.
And then the universe likes to test you to see if that's fucking true.
Situationship with neighbor, I was like, it was just like the biggest rude awakening. It's like, no, bitch, you didn't fucking learn it all. Sit back down, classes in session, let's run this back.
Yeah. I always heard that the universe tests you 3 times before moving on to the next phase of your life. So maybe this was what, the 3rd time. And I think honestly, like, I mean, I don't know if this is true. This is just me looking at my life and other people's lives. But it's like sometimes you have to go through like the absolute worst person that's literally gonna fucking break you in order to see if you learn something and to move on.
Yeah.
Well, and for me, that was my ex before Brian, who like he literally fucking broke me.
No, exactly. And that's how I felt. Like, I went to therapy the other day and I was like, he ruined my confidence. I like, I've never felt so, I haven't felt this, unconfident, whatever the word is, in years, like since I was in college.
Yeah.
Like, and I know I was mirroring a lot of his insecurities and projecting like my own insecurities because like I was just being triggered so heavily and I wasn't taking care of myself. I was so insecure and I was so dysregulated. And I was telling my therapist, I was like, I can't believe I let myself get to this point. And she was like, well, A, he's a fucking idiot. She was like, B, it's time for you to change things. She was
Yeah.
like, now's the time. She was like, don't look over that window, you know, do things that help you take care of yourself, like prioritize you, because if not, like it's just going to keep getting worse. And that's it. And I just knew, especially after the last 3 times that, neighbor and I repeated the cycle, it got progressively worse. And I just knew that the universe was saying, you keep going back to that. Believe me, the next time it's going to
keep coming back worse.
It's going to be horrible. So stop now because it's not aligned. And of course, like, and I feel like it just like, I just had this epiphany. I was like, the lesson was never about, I don't even know how to say it. I think I had many ideas of what the lesson was with Mike or, with Cody. I thought it was like, oh, slow down. I thought that's what the lesson was.
I mean,
like,
it could be like one of many.
and maybe that's the one of the lessons is definitely like slow down. But I think bigger picture, I think the lesson has been in, the last 3 relationships that I've been in, to just like actually like honor what I want. And then, in therapy, she was also like, she took those 3 relationships and she was like, where Cody gave me safety. And I told this to Cody, so I feel comfortable like talking about this. Cody gave me safety, but it was poly, and I was never going to be able to marry him and like get the primary relationship that I wanted out of him.
Yeah.
Mike was emotionally unavailable. Cody was not emotionally unavailable, just like in some ways unavailable.
Psychotic.
Yeah. Well, no, not psychotic. Sorry. Not him.
I know. I'm just being your friend.
Neighbor was definitely emotionally unavailable. And I sat there with that, and my therapist.
Cody's not psychotic. It's
neighbor. Yeah.
Neighbor. Psychotic. Sorry.
And I, she was outlining this for me, and she was like, you're also self-sabotaging and being emotionally unavailable, and the fact that you choose people that deep down can't give you what you want, because then you'll know the outcome.
That's self-sabotage.
Yeah. And she's like, and that's, and it goes back to my abandonment wounds. It goes back to, my father wounds and my fear of loss. And
your self-worth.
Yeah. And she was like, and I was telling her, because there's this guy that I met not that long ago, and he seems so safe. He's, good career, emotionally intelligent, good age range for me, very communicative. We have had great conversations. The 2 dates that we went on went very well. And I was telling her, I was like, he feels so safe. And to my body, it feels so boring and so scary at the same time. And she was like, well, that's because this is something new. This is something that you could actually pursue. But you're used to the adrenaline from situations that don't serve you. You're used to the dopamine hits from, an avoidant person finally deciding to text you back and, and say nice things to get you back. She's like, you're used to she was like, this is all hormonal. She was like, you don't love him. It's your body is addicted to him. And that was also a really big pill to swallow. And I had already had that inkling. I was like, I feel like my body's addicted to him, and it is. Yeah. And no, it is. And she was even telling me, she was like, have you considered going to some love addiction meetings? She was like, they're free, they're everywhere. Some are even on Zoom. She was like, I would highly suggest that you at least try to go to 1 or 2 of them. She was like, because you are addicted to him. And so it was just, yeah. So like overall, it's just been yeah. Overall, it's just been like a really oh man, I was like trying to stop the waterworks. I'm not gonna cry. It's been a really eye-opening experience because I let someone treat me so badly, but it took that for me to like actually wake up. And I feel like over this past week, like I've actually truly like woken up, and it's like I'm seeing everything all over again. And it's really hurtful and painful to go through these types of situations where it's like, you're hurting yourself by staying in it. But on the other side, like there's better. You got to wait for the right people that are going to treat you right. And I know like I sound like, a fucking meme on Instagram, that it's like right now the best thing that I can do for myself is continue, on my healing journey, going to therapy, journaling, hanging out with my friends, because goddamn, I love my friends so fucking much, and like actually, and Cody gave me a really nice exercise because I was like, I told him, I was like, I'm not even sure what my boundaries are sometimes. And he was like, well, look at the things that, like for example, look at the things that neighbor has done that have crossed a boundary, that have made you feel like really icky. He was like, that's when you know that like a boundary's been crossed. Mm-hmm. So, work backwards. What was the situation? And then figure out what boundary was crossed. He was like, and make a list. And that's the thing, is I will forever be grateful for, I have exes, or, even casual fling exes that are friends, and, that I'm super thankful for. I know Mike called me the day after he and I saw each other, and he was like, hey, sorry about like our interaction, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
And then, I just like lean on my friends and lean on my, going to yoga and, doing this and that, traveling, whatever. And it's just like, I'm finally getting to the other side of it. And the situation has sucked. I know I definitely had my part in it. I take accountability for how I fucked up, because I know I hurt my neighbor in some instances too. And that was, and I've apologized before, but I'll apologize again if needed. And I'm just, now I'm hopeful. I'm getting there, and it's going to be okay. And this is just a part of life. And
I love you.
I love you too. And the lessons are worth it,
Yeah.
Like,
it's a part of life, unfortunately. Sometimes like.
But like I was listening to that Date Yourself Instead podcast.
We gotta plug.
I'm almost done.
Fuck.
And and she was talking about going through the same situations, and I feel like listening to that just made me realize I'm not the only one.
Yeah.
And I know I'm not the only one that's been in a toxic situation.
And now you can help others because you've been through, and that's how I would heal from my situation too, is talking about it.
Yeah.
Servicing others, and just having that insight, because you now know what it feels like.
I'm happy to support anyone through that.
Yeah.
So
plug yourself. Love you so much.
I love you too. Sorry.
Wait, which one
we took
is it?
such a long time. There was just so much to talk about. I could go. I
don't know. I mean, we could keep talking, but like off air.
Yeah. But anyways, you can find me at Double Team Podcast. Cami at Cami Niki. My personal diary is at Double Team Pod on Twitter. Yeah.
So true.
And all relevant links are on Double Team Podcast. So
y'all know what it is. Yeah. All right. Well, follow me, Stefanie Maegan, or go to brooklynTherapy.com. All that shit is there. Next time we'll do Nikki.
Oh yeah.
That'd be really interesting.
Oh my God. She's probably gonna listen back to this episode and be like,
I know.
I told you, bitch.
For real. Okay, love you, bye.
Yeah, no. That situation was
Broke girl therapy.